My, oh my, as if the rain wasn't enough, I get this wonderful gospel to preach about this morning. Marriage, divorce, unity, the lack thereof. That's what's on the menu today. But, listen, if you're sitting there and you've been through a divorce, don't have a heart attack, because it's not as bad as it sounds. Allow me to explain what the core message is here. And let me begin explaining that, not by saying anything about marriage, but by saying something about priesthood. All those years that I was in the seminary working as the dean of men, we would have, whenever we got new guys, at the beginning of every year, we would have like a 3-week orientation period. And the guys were young, For the most part, they were college age, anywhere from 18 to about 22, 23 or so, most of them. And they were good guys. They like anyone that age, they were full of enthusiasm and, of course, just a lot of emotion, a lot of emotional decisions, etc. So after a few weeks, for the second week, I would meet with them and I would say to them, I said, look, you guys are here because you want to be priests, and we're glad you're here. You're good guys. You mean well. I said, but, it's time for you to start understanding what is needed in order to be priests. And I would tell them, you have to be aware of what the church says about priesthood. And if you read canon law, the church says that the church only ordains men to the priesthood. And I would say to them, let me tell you what that means. It means gender, but it means a lot more than gender. Okay, it means that the church cannot ordain boys to the priesthood. So I would say to them, I would explain to them. So the first thing that you have to learn to do here, if you want to become a priest, is you first have to become a man. You have to, you need to be cured of your mamitis. If you want me to anglicize that, your mamitis, okay? You have to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. You have to learn to manage yourself. You have to learn to be responsible. You have to learn to motivate yourself. You have to learn to correct yourself, to discipline yourself, and so on and so forth. You get the picture. And, interestingly, whenever I meet with couples that I'm preparing for marriage, I quite often say to them, okay, this is wonderful. You want to get married. You look like good people. You look like you're in love with one another. However, you need to understand what the church says about marriage. And, canon law says that the reality of marriage can only take place, can only thrive and be sustained between a man and a woman. And I explained to them, it means gender, but a lot more than that. It means that the marital reality cannot fully thrive and sustain itself between a boy and a girl, or a woman and a boy, or a man and a girl. In other words, both in priesthood and marriage, there is a certain level of affective maturity that needs to be obtained and sustained for the reality to take place. Now listen. Don't depress yourselves, because all of us are going to die with some level of immaturity within us, okay? We will, okay? But there is a basic fundamental level of maturity that needs to be attained so that the reality can thrive and sustain itself. And so quite often what happens when this quote-unquote capacity is not there, naturally, people will go through a divorce. And for this reason, the church in her wisdom grants annulments. right? And annulment basically affirms that, and by the way, annulments are not one size fits all. You have to go case by case and, study the particulars of what happened there. But the vast majority of cases, after all that study is done, the church will declare, yes, reason for the annulment, lack of form. You know what that means? It means really lack of maturity by one or both or whatnot. And what it's really saying is these are good people who tried to love each other, who may have had loving children, wonderful loving children, born out of love, attempted love. But the capacity wasn't fully there for this reality of marriage to exist. And hopefully, in some cases, people grow a lot from this. Some cases, there are some people who should never get married. Okay? There are some people who should never be priests either. We would take care of those as well. So you see what this conveys to us in a much broader sense, right, is that the unity that we're really longing for in so many facets of our life, in marriage, in society, can only be brought about by maturity, by becoming fully mature, or mostly mature men and women. Sometimes we complain about how insane our society is. It is, right? Why? Because there is a horrible crisis of affective maturity. We have an overabundance of arrested development. We have people handling very important responsibilities that some on a good day might be 14 or 15 years old. Some maybe 7. And so you have the disunity, the discord, right? The chaos, the conflicts, the divisions that come with that. But how would, this is the key right here, how would we define maturity? What does it mean to be a mature woman? What does it mean to be a mature man? Jesus gives us the perfect example. And by the way, the answer is right there in front of us every Sunday. In fact, we're going to say it in a few minutes. Listen to the words of our profession of faith. When we say, through him all things were made, for us men, for our salvation, he came down from heaven by the power of the Holy Spirit. He was born of the Virgin Mary and became man, right? You know that. You say it every Sunday. Okay, it means not only that he became a biological human being, but it means that he matured. It means that he matured. And how did he do that? What defines his maturity? It's what we say right after that line. And became man. For our sake, he became man. For us men, for our salvation, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. He suffered, died, and was buried. Rose on the third day in accordance with the scriptures, ascended into heaven, and all that other jazz, right? Okay, maturity is defined by going out of self, by doing what Jesus did. Jesus underwent suffering. He persevered through the cross, his death, and so on, not for his own sake, but so that he could give life to others. This is the definition of maturity. It's going out of self and being willing to struggle, being willing to persevere so that we can give life to others. You want to be a good priest, you've got to develop that capacity. You always have to keep working on it. You want to be a good husband. You want to be a good wife. You want to be a good parent. You're going to have to do that. Many of you are doing that. You know that. You know, nobody's waking up at 4 in the morning to take care of a baby, you know, to give themselves life, obviously, right? You're trying to give life to that child. We want to be good citizens. We have to stop thinking we want to fix the ills in society. We've got to stop thinking of what freebies can I get? You know, what kind of push button comfort can I get? We want to grow into being able to give something back, even when it's difficult for us to do so. This mindset of everything is given to us is the mindset of a spoiled child that leads to arrested development as a society. So consequently, we act like a retarded society. You get the point. So may the Lord help us. May the Lord help us to continue to grow as men, as women, as citizens, as responsible people in the world we live in. May the Lord, through His strength, through His Spirit, help us to all the more be willing to suffer, die to self, so that we can give life to others. And then we will see our lives, our marriages, our society, our world rise to greater and greater health. My dear friends, let us now